Overnight from December 8th into December 9th, 2025, Russia claimed one of the largest drone interceptions since the war began, shooting down 116 Ukrainian drones across more than 10 regions, including Belgorod, Ryazan, Voronezh, and even over the Caspian Sea. This massive wave of unmanned aerial vehicles, UAVs, marks a serious turning point in the intensifying drone missile stage of the Russia-Ukraine war, and carries grave implications for both sides and for the wider regional stability. From Moscow's perspective, the announcement serves multiple strategic functions. First, it reasserts Russian control over its airspace, sending a clear signal to Kyiv and to the world that crossing Russian borders with aerial assets comes at a steep cost. Second, by publicizing the scale of destruction, Moscow aims to undermine Ukrainian morale and deter further drone swarms designed to hit infrastructure, oil refineries, or logistical hubs deep inside Russian territory. Third, and perhaps most critically, this event becomes a tool of internal consolidation. It allows Russian leadership to justify further strengthening air defense batteries across border regions, increasing surveillance coverage, and accelerating procurement of long-range anti-drone systems. For Ukraine, the cost of this intercepted wave is multifaceted. Military-wise, losing 116 drones represents a significant expenditure of assets and a blow to its ability to launch mass swarm operations, a tactic that recently gained traction to bypass traditional defenses. Politically, it undermines one of Kyiv's arguments that Russia's rear is vulnerable, and thus limits Moscow's ability to sustain long-range operations. Internationally, this setback could affect Western support calculations. If Kyiv's drone campaign fails to penetrate deep enough, the perceived pressure on Russia to negotiate might weaken. But this night is not just about numbers, it's about signaling a shift in the character of the war. The fact that drones were intercepted over regions far from the front line, including the Caspian Sea, shows Ukraine's willingness to push boundaries and Russia's capability to defend even distant and sensitive territories. The messaging is clear. No region inside Russia is guaranteed safe. This new reality raises the stakes for both elites and civilians, heightening risks of miscalculation, escalation, and perhaps even retaliation inside Ukraine. Beyond Russia and Ukraine, the wave has broader military strategic consequences. It revives the concept of total airspace defense in modern war. States are no longer defending static front lines, but their entire national airspace, from ports and industrial zones to border farms and remote regions. For neighboring countries, including members of NATO, the precedent matters deeply. If Russia demonstrates effective air defense capabilities over extended territory, it sets a new threshold for power projection and deterrence. At the same time, the scale of the interception raises doubts about the sustainability of drone warfare as a silent alternative to heavy artillery and missiles. If swarms can be negated with appropriate air defense coverage, then the cost-benefit equation shifts. Ukraine, and any state relying heavily on UAV swarms, must now evaluate whether the element of surprise and low-cost strike capability is still viable against geographically vast and well-defended targets. From a tactical perspective, this event ushers in a second phase of the conflict where air dominance, surveillance control, and advanced radar integration might matter more than numerical superiority on the ground. Russia could now invest in building layered zones of interception, radars, electronic warfare modules, mobile surface-to-air missile SAM units, to defend not only key cities, but entire strategic corridors. For Ukraine, if drone attacks continue, the only recourse may be deeper stealth tactics, new drone designs, or increased reliance on precision missile strikes, all of which carry their own risks and costs. Politically, the message is as strong as the military reality. Moscow is communicating to domestic and international audiences that it remains capable, vigilant, and ready to defend itself. Western backers of Ukraine may hesitate if Kyiv appears unable to bypass these defenses. Meanwhile, Russia strengthens its bargaining position. On one front, it projects strength through defense. On another, it can offer controlled negotiation windows, claiming it met aggression with control. If the next months see repeated failed drone bursts or the Ukrainian drone fleet is significantly degraded, we may witness a tilt towards strategic parity, where neither side can leverage air-based attacks at will. At that point, sustained stalemate rather than decisive advances may become the likely outcome, especially if external powers impose diplomatic pressure. Finally, there is a psychological dimension. The sense of insecurity that now extends beyond frontline zones, reaching border regions, coastal areas, and interior territories, affects civilian morale, mobilization politics, and social stability. Fear becomes a tool of control as much as bombs, and in large authoritarian states, control can be as effective as open conflict. In conclusion, the 116 drone night is not just a headline. It represents a structural shift in how modern war is waged, a shift from front lines to airspace, from tank columns to invisible swarms, from territorial gains to deterrence of deep strikes. The implications extend beyond Russia and Ukraine to global defense thinking, alliance strategies, and the future of drone warfare itself. Whichever side adapts faster, new drone stealth, improved radar systems, or legal and diplomatic countermeasures may influence not only the next phase of this war, but the shape of 21st century conflicts to come.